I wasn't always disciplined. I used to chase motivation, start strong, then fade away. But everything changed when I learned these 7 rules. These aren't just habits. They're a way of life. Rule 1, control your mind, or it will control you. I've learned the hard way that the greatest battles are never fought in the world outside. They're fought inside my own mind. Every day there's a voice in my head whispering excuses, doubts, and fears. It tells me I'm too tired, too late, too weak, or too far behind. For a long time I listened. I let my mind dictate my actions. I was reactive, not in control, and I paid the price. But one day, I realized something powerful. My mind was not my master. It was my tool. And like any tool, it could be shaped, trained, and sharpened. The problem wasn't my mind. It was the way I used it. Once I understood that, everything started to change. Controlling the mind isn't about silencing thoughts. It's about mastering focus. It's about choosing what deserves your attention and what doesn't. See, your mind will always drift toward comfort, toward distractions, toward things that give you quick pleasure but long regret. If you don't take charge, your mind becomes like a wild horse, strong but dangerous when left untamed. Every morning I make a decision not to let my emotions run my day. I remind myself, feelings are temporary, but discipline is permanent. I might not feel like working, training, or creating, but I do it anyway, because I refuse to let temporary feelings decide my long-term results. There are 2 voices inside you. One says, take it easy, you've done enough. The other says, keep going, you're just getting started. The one you feed wins. I used to feed the first one, the voice of comfort. But when I started feeding the voice of growth, something incredible happened. I became unstoppable. When you control your mind, you stop being reactive. You stop letting the world dictate how you feel. You start leading yourself. You start choosing peace over chaos, purpose over distraction, action over excuses. I used to think success was about motivation. Now I know it's about mental control. Motivation fades, but mental discipline keeps you moving when motivation disappears. And that's what separates the average from the great. Not talent, not luck, but the ability to stay focused when everything else tries to pull you away. Every day, I test myself. When my mind says stop, I take one more step. When it says rest, I do one more rep. When it says give up, I whisper, just a little more. That's how you reprogram your brain, through action, not words. The truth is, control doesn't come easy. It's a fight, a constant tug of war between who you are and who you want to be. But every time you choose discipline over comfort, you win a piece of that war. You build mental armor. You grow stronger, sharper, more dangerous in the best way possible. Now, when chaos hits, I don't panic. When doubt whispers, I don't listen. When fear rises, I breathe and move forward anyway. Because I know who's in control now. You see, the world can take your money, your comfort, even your health. But if you control your mind, you'll always find a way to rise again. That's real power. That's real freedom. So whenever I start to drift, I remind myself of one truth. Either I control my mind, or it will control me. And I refuse to be a slave to my thoughts ever again. Rule 2, win the morning, win the day. There was a time in my life when I used to wake up late, scroll through my phone, and start my day already behind. I didn't realize it then, but every time I hit that snooze button, I wasn't just delaying my alarm. I was delaying my life. I was teaching my mind that comfort mattered more than growth. But everything changed the moment I decided to take control of my mornings. Because the truth is, how you start your day determines how you live your life. When I wake up now, I don't wait for the world to push me. I push myself. The first few minutes after I open my eyes, that's my battlefield. My mind still tries to pull me back into comfort, whispering, 5 more minutes, but I don't listen anymore. The second I choose to rise, I've already won the first fight of the day. Winning the morning isn't about waking up early just to brag about it. It's about ownership, claiming the day before it claims you. I used to think success was about big moments, achievements, recognition, milestones, but I was wrong. Success is built quietly, in the early hours, when nobody's watching. Every morning is a test. Will I let the day control me, or will I take control of it? When I wake up with purpose, everything else follows. My mind feels sharper, my focus locks in. My decisions become intentional instead of reactive. That's what discipline feels like. Power in motion. I start my mornings with silence, not chaos. I don't reach for my phone anymore. I reach for clarity. Sometimes I write down my goals. Sometimes I sit in stillness. Sometimes I move, train, or just breathe. But whatever I do it with purpose. The world is loud, full of noise, distraction, and temptation. But the early hours, they belong to you. That's when your mind is quiet, your thoughts are clear, and your spirit is still unshaken by the day. That's when you can build yourself. I've learned that if you want peace, you can't start your day in chaos. If you want focus, you can't start your day scrolling. If you want power, you can't start your day in weakness. Your morning sets the standard for everything that follows. Now I treat every sunrise as a reset, a new opportunity to prove to myself that I'm in control. Some days I still feel tired. Some days I don't feel like moving at all. But I remember this. Comfort is the enemy of progress. The hardest mornings often create the best days. I've stopped chasing motivation. I chase momentum. One disciplined morning creates a disciplined week, and that momentum compounds. It builds confidence, and confidence builds consistency. Before you know it, your entire life starts moving differently. Stronger, calmer, more intentional. When I look back, the biggest shift in my journey didn't come from some grand decision. It came from the small one, getting up when I didn't want to. That's when I started winning, not just my mornings, but my life. So now, I wake up before the world needs me. I win my morning before anyone else has a chance to pull me off track. Because when I start my day on my terms, no amount of noise, negativity, or distraction can take it away from me. Every sunrise is a promise, a second chance to build, to focus, to rise again. And I remind myself, if I can win the morning, I can win the day. That's not motivation, that's mastery. And it all begins the moment I open my eyes and choose discipline over comfort, again and again. Rule 3, do what you said you would do. There was a version of me that spoke big and delivered small. I'd make plans at night and betray them by morning. I'd promise myself I'd start, then negotiate my way out of it. And every time I broke a promise to myself, something inside me dimmed. Not because the goal was impossible, but because my word meant nothing to me. Everything changed when I realized this simple truth. Confidence is a contract I sign with myself every day. If I keep the contract, I get paid in self-respect. If I break it, I go into debt. The interest on that debt is doubt, hesitation, and shame. I was tired of paying it, so I drew a line. I told myself, from now on, if I say it, I do it. Not because it's easy, not because I feel like it, but because my identity depends on it. When I act, I'm not just checking a box, I'm casting a vote for the person I say I am. I stopped announcing grand plans to the world and started making quiet agreements with myself. Wake up at this time, train for this long, write this many words, execute this task before I touch my phone. And then I honoured those agreements like sacred vows. No applause, no excuses, just proof. Here's what I learned. The moment after I make a promise is the moment my mind starts negotiating. It offers an alternative. Later, tomorrow, when it's perfect, when you're ready. That voice is charming and logical, and it's a thief. I don't argue with it anymore. I move before the negotiation starts. Action first, feelings later. To protect my word, I built guardrails. I make fewer promises, but I make them non-negotiable. I translate goals into visible, measurable actions. Write for 30 minutes, not be creative. I set start triggers. When the kettle clicks, I stretch. When I sit at the desk, I write. After training, I plan tomorrow. I create friction against quitting. Lay out clothes at night, block distracting apps, put the phone in another room. I track wins in a simple log, not for perfection, but pattern. Evidence beats memory. Keeping my word didn't make life easier. It made me stronger. I learned to say no more often. No to overcommitting, no to people-pleasing, no to the version of me that signs up for everything and finishes nothing. A powerful no protects every yes that matters. And when I slip, I don't spiral, I repair. I ask, where did the promise break? Scope, time, or distraction? Then I make the next promise smaller and execute immediately. Momentum is medicine. I refuse to let one missed rep become a lost week. I also stopped outsourcing accountability. Other people can cheer me on, but they can't carry my standards. Standards are private laws. Mine say, if it's on today's list, it gets done today. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. If it scares me, start before I can think. If it matters, schedule it. If it's scheduled, it's sacred. The real reward isn't the finished task. It's who I become each time I honour my word. My voice gets steadier. My choices get cleaner. The gap between intention and action gets shorter. And the world notices, not because I'm louder, but because I'm consistent. People trust me because I trust me. I used to wait for motivation to keep my promises. Now I keep my promises to generate motivation. Action creates energy. Completion creates clarity. Integrity creates peace. So when I say I'll do something, I do it. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's defining. I am the sum of my kept promises. My calendar is a mirror. My habits are my handwriting. And every day I ask myself one question that keeps me honest. If my life were judged only by what I did today, would my words still be gold? Rule 4, focus on progress, not perfection. Perfection used to paralyze me. I'd delay the workout until I had the right plan, postpone the project until I felt ready, scrap the draft because it wasn't brilliant on the first try. I called it high standards. Truth is, it was fear wearing a tuxedo. Perfection looked noble, but it kept me still. Everything changed when I gave myself permission to be imperfect in motion. I realized excellence isn't born from flawless beginnings. It's built through stubborn iteration. The first rep is shaky. The first draft is rough. The first version is embarrassing. But version 1 beats version none every time. Now my mantra is simple. Ship, then sharpen. I start messy, then I improve with evidence. I don't wait for the perfect plan. I make a good plan and perfect it by doing. Action turns fog into feedback. Once I move, reality tells me exactly what to fix. I measure progress in visible inches, not in visible ideals. One more page, one more call, one more set, one more day without breaking the chain. I track the trend, not the mood. Some days the line is jagged, but the slope is upward, and that's what counts. Perfection used to make me fragile. One mistake and I'd throw the day away. Now I practice rapid recovery. Miss a morning? I win the afternoon. Miss a rep? I nail the next one. Momentum is more important than the myth of an unbroken streak. I don't protect perfect days. I protect my return speed. To stay oriented toward progress, I use a few rules. Minimum viable win. When motivation is low, I shrink the task to something I cannot refuse. 10 minutes, 5 push-ups, 1 paragraph. The door to big days is small. Finish ugly. I end work blocks with a note for next starting point, so I can re-enter fast tomorrow. Ugly endings beat unfinished perfection. Feedback over feelings. I don't ask, was it perfect? I ask, what did I learn? What's the next 1% improvement? Score the behavior, not the outcome. I can't control virality, markets, or weather. I can control showing up with intent. The moment I stopped worshipping perfection, I started respecting process. Process is honest. It doesn't flatter me for planning. It rewards me for reps. Process is patient. It converts small deposits into compounding confidence. And process is fair. It pays anyone who keeps showing up. I used to think people were great because they were flawless. I learned they're great because they are relentless. They keep iterating when others get embarrassed and quit. They let improvement be public. They let practice be visible. They outlast their own cringe. Progress also requires scope control. Perfection loves bloat. More features, more rules, more complexity. I cut ruthlessly. What moves the needle stays. Everything else is noise. Most breakthroughs are simplifications in disguise. And when the critic in my head says, "This isn't good enough," I answer, "Good. Now we have something to make better." That shift frees me. I'm not defending a reputation. I'm building a body of work. One brick at a time. One honest rep at a time. At night, I don't ask if I was perfect. I ask if I moved, even an inch, toward the person I'm becoming. If the answer is yes, I win the day. If the answer is no, I design tomorrow so the next yes is easier. Clearer start, smaller target, fewer distractions. Perfection is a statue, cold, still, and heavy. Progress is a river, alive, moving, and unstoppable. I choose the river. I choose movement. I choose to be the type of person who improves in public, who trades ego for evidence, who stacks imperfect days into extraordinary results. I don't need to be perfect. I need to be in motion. And when I am, perfection stops being a destination and becomes a byproduct. What happens naturally when progress refuses to quit? Rule 5. Eliminate what doesn't serve you. I used to think discipline was about adding more habits, more hacks, more hustle. But the breakthrough wasn't addition, it was subtraction. My life didn't change because I found a secret trick. It changed because I started cutting everything that quietly stole my focus, energy, and time. I made a simple promise to myself. If it doesn't move me toward who I'm becoming, it goes. That one decision forced me to see my life with brutal honesty. Not in theory, on paper. I audited my days like an investigator. Where does my attention leak? What conversations leave me smaller? What apps own my thumb? Which obligations are just fear of saying no? It was uncomfortable. Some of the things holding me back were things I liked. They were familiar, easy, numbing. But comfort isn't neutral, it's expensive. It charges interest and regret. So I started pruning. Digital. I deleted the apps that turned minutes into mist. I turned off notifications like I was reclaiming land. My phone sleeps outside my room. If I need to use social, I do it on a laptop, in a window, with a timer. I stopped letting algorithms decide what my brain eats. Environment. I cleared my desk until it looked like a decision. One pen, one notebook, one task. The simpler the space, the sharper my mind. I placed weights by the door and a water bottle on the desk. I made the good behaviours easy to start, the bad ones hard to reach. People. I stopped giving premium access to people who bring discount energy. Not with drama, just with distance. I still love, but I limit. I seek rooms where effort is normal and excuses are awkward. Proximity is programming. I choose my code base carefully. Promises. I cut the heroic to-do lists that guaranteed failure. I picked the vital few and protected them like a secret. A short list executed beats a long list imagined. My calendar became a fence around what matters. Food, sleep, stimulants. I simplified to rhythm. Hydrate early, eat clean most of the time, caffeine with intention, screens down at night. Discipline isn't just mental, it's chemical. When my body is noisy, my mind can't be quiet. To make this real, I gave myself rules of subtraction. If I dread it repeatedly, I either fix it or I drop it. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no, at least for now. One input, one output. If I consume, I create. A video must be followed by notes or action. Guardrails over willpower. I don't rely on strength at 11 p.m. I rely on systems I set at 11 a.m. Weekly pruning. Every Sunday I remove one friction, one commitment, or one distraction from the week ahead. Elimination isn't about becoming smaller, it's about becoming clear. When I removed the noise, I discovered how much signal was already inside me. Ideas got louder, work got cleaner. I wasn't chasing discipline anymore, I was revealing it. Under the clutter, I was already capable. There's a quiet confidence that comes from subtraction. My yes means more because it's rare. My work lands harder because it isn't competing with 10 other versions of me. When I strip away the unnecessary, what remains is undeniable. Of course, elimination costs. You lose the easy dopamine. You disappoint people who are benefiting from your lack of boundaries. You grieve old identities built on being busy. But what you gain is priceless. Time that feels like yours, energy you can aim, a life that points in one direction. Now, when something asks for my attention, I ask back. Does this serve my future or just soothe my present? If it's only soothing, I pass. I'm not anti-pleasure, I'm pro-purpose. I don't need more to be more. I need less of the wrong things. This is the paradox I live by. Every subtraction is a multiplication. Every distraction removed multiplies my focus. Every obligation declined multiplies my freedom. Every toxic pattern cut multiplies my peace. I'm not building a heavier life. I'm carving a sharper one. And with each clean cut, I become easier to recognize, to myself and to the world. Rule 6. Delay gratification. I used to live for the quick hit. The ping, the like, the snack, the skip. Tiny pleasures that felt like rewards but stole the bigger ones waiting down the road. I told myself I'd get serious after this episode, after this weekend. after things settled. They never did. My future kept getting auctioned off for spare moments of comfort. Everything changed when I understood this. Every craving is a crossroads. One path gives me relief now, the other gives me respect later, and respect lasts longer. Delaying gratification isn't about punishment. It's about choice, trading a cheap win for a worthy one. It's the difference between tasting sugar and becoming strong, between scrolling a dream and building it. When I delay, I don't lose pleasure, I compound it. I train this like a skill, not a mood. 1. The 10-minute wall. When an urge hits, I wait 10 minutes. No debate, just time. Most cravings pass like weather. If the urge survives the clock, I choose the smallest disciplined version of the right action. 1 paragraph, 1 set, 1 call. Momentum is better than mercy. 2. Pre-commitment over willpower. I don't trust later me at 11 p.m. I set traps for victory earlier in the day. Junk food doesn't enter the house, credit cards stay in a drawer, entertainment apps are blocked during work hours. I make the wrong choice inconvenient and the right choice automatic. 3. Reward escrow. I still enjoy treats, but I earn them. Workout first, then show, deep work first, then game, publish first, then dessert. Pleasure follows performance. It tastes better that way. 4. The 24-hour rule. No impulsive purchases, texts, or urgent detours. I let emotions cool. If I still want it tomorrow, I'll pursue it with a clear head. 5. Friction and finish lines. I keep my phone in another room, my to-do list short, and my work blocks timed. The line between done and not yet is bright. Vague goals create loopholes. Precise targets create closure. Biology matters too. Sleep, hydration, real food, sunlight, movement. These aren't wellness slogans, they're discipline fuel. A depleted body chases quick dopamine. A cared-for body can wait. There's a voice that tells me, you deserve it now. I answer, I deserve the life I said I wanted. That life requires patience. Seeds don't sprout because I stare at them. They grow because I water them on schedule and refuse to dig them up to check progress. My job is to keep showing up and let time do what time does. Amplify. I've learned to enjoy the wait. There's a quiet pride in saying no to the easy thing, a strength that builds every time I sit with an urge and choose higher. I call it earned joy. It's the kind that makes me walk taller, sleep deeper, think clearer. It's the joy of alignment, actions catching up to intentions. When I slip, I don't collapse. I study the lapse. Was I tired, hungry, lonely, stressed? I fix the system, not just the symptom. I shorten the distance to the first right step and take it immediately. The goal isn't never giving in. The goal is needing it less every week. Delaying gratification is my unfair advantage. While others burn energy chasing the next hit, I stack days, build assets, and collect the kind of rewards that don't evaporate. Money grows, skills compound, trust deepens, confidence hardens. So when the shortcut whispers, I hear a different promise. Not now means more later. And I'm playing a long game, with a long memory and a longer standard. I don't need it now. I need the future I keep choosing. One disciplined delay at a time. Rule 7. Keep going when it's hard. There's a moment in every pursuit when the air gets thin, plans unravel, timelines slip, excuses multiply. Your chest tightens, your legs get heavy, and the path that felt heroic yesterday looks impossible today. I used to treat that moment as a sign to stop. Not my time, bad luck, I'll try again when it's easier. I didn't realize I was standing at the exact doorway where people quietly turn around and call it fate. Now I know better. Difficulty is not the signal to quit. It's the signal you've arrived at the work that actually matters. The easy miles don't change you. The ugly ones do. When it gets hard, my first instinct is still to negotiate. My mind offers bargains. Take a shorter route. Skip today. Start over Monday. I don't debate anymore. I have a protocol. 1. Shrink the battlefield. I don't need to conquer the mountain. I need to take the next clean step. 1 representative, 1 paragraph, 10 more minutes. I quit trying to feel brave for an hour and just aim to be honest for a minute. The minute expands once I start moving. 2. Convert pain into data. When I'm stuck, I ask, where exactly is the friction, skill, system, or stamina? If it's skill, I practice. If it's system, I simplify. If it's stamina, I rest strategically and return with intent. Pain becomes a message, not a verdict. 3. Keep a promise I can keep. I choose one non-negotiable. Finish the set, send the draft, make the call. Completion creates oxygen. It's amazing how one honest finish can break a day-long storm. I've also learned that consistency has a sound. It's quiet. No drama, no grand announcements, just the thud of steady footsteps. I used to romanticize breakthroughs. Now I respect the boring days that stack into them. There's a dignity in doing the work nobody will clap for, the reps in the dark that make the light possible. On the hardest days, I return to identity. I'm the type of person who keeps going. Not recklessly, not blindly, deliberately. I can pivot, but I don't fold. I can rest, but I don't retreat. I can slow down, but I don't stop. That identity gives me rules. Rest is a strategy, not an escape. I schedule it before I need it, so exhaustion can't make my decisions. I don't miss twice. One off day is human, 2 in a row is a pattern. I cut it at 1. If I can't do it at full intensity, I do it at minimum viable intensity. Some forward beats perfect forward. I keep anchors ready for when the storm hits. A sentence I repeat when doubt surges. I do hard things on purpose. A memory of a time I kept going and it paid off. I sit in it until my pulse slows. A playlist that belongs to work, not comfort. Music my brain now associates with movement. A ritual. Lace shoes, set timer, first rep. Rituals make courage automatic, and I protect the inputs that make perseverance possible. Sleep that isn't negotiable. Food that fuels. Water within reach. Sunlight on my face before screens hit my eyes. If I expect my body to carry me through hard things, I treat it like an ally, not an afterthought. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the work, it's the silence. You can be doing everything right and hear nothing back. No applause, no progress that shows, no proof you're close. That's where most of us break. We've been trained by instant feedback loops to quit when the graph doesn't move. Here's what I believe now. Silence is not failure. Silence is where compound interest accrues. The roots grow before the tree appears. When fear whispers, "What if this never works?" I answer with a different question. Who will I become if I keep going anyway? Because that's the real prize. Yes, the result matters, but the person forged by perseverance is the one who can handle the result when it arrives. I've made peace with being the last one on the field. I'll be there when the motivated have gone home, when the novelty is worn off, when the weather turns, not because I'm special, but because I've decided to be available to the miracle, the one that only visits people who stay. Still, I'm not stubborn about methods. I'm faithful to the mission, flexible with the plan. If a path is blocked, I route around it. If a technique fails, I iterate. Persistence isn't doing the same thing forever. It's refusing to abandon the goal while you upgrade the approach. There's a scene I replay when things feel impossible. I picture my future self watching me today. Not the highlight version, the ordinary one. Paying bills, raising kids, leading teams, building quietly. I imagine them whispering, "Please don't quit here. You're closer than you think. I work for that person. I owe them a life built on decisions I can be proud of." In the end, keeping going is simple, not easy. It's choosing the next step over the perfect step, the present effort over the hypothetical plan, the long game over the loud moment. It's being brave enough to be consistent, especially when nobody's keeping score, so when the path narrows and the air,